Hello everybody, my name is Jeremy York and welcome back to Phenomenal Reads. Today I am going to talk about one of the, what's considered one of the greatest novels ever written, The Lord of the Rings by JRR Tolkien. When I started reading this thing, I had already read long books. I've already read actually three 1,000 page books, all of them by Stephen King. I have read 900 and 800 pages. This one here is no different. This one is actually almost 1,200 pages. But that's with like the appendices and everything and all of that. This is like the total the total complete version of Lord of the Rings. This is actually the one book when I started it, I found it intimidating because of the size of it. Even though I had already read The Stand, I've already read It, Under the Dome, and other large books. For some reason, I found this book intimidating. But when I got into this thing, there was also language in here that kind of made it difficult to follow, and that follow through with the movies. But the movies, there were a lot of differences from the movies to this. Like I remember a couple characters being merged into one. They were talking about a couple characters being merged into one for the book. More specifically, the talking trees. And I actually found those two characters without really even knowing the other one that was merged in. This took me 4 years to read. That's how intimidating I found this thing. It took me 4 years to read. I would start this thing and then I would stop. And the bad thing for me is that when I start reading a story, I do not stop and go to another book. I won't do that. I finish whatever I'm reading before I start something else. And because of this taking me 4 years to read, I did not read anything else at all. Well, magazines and things like that, but no actual stories. And then finally, I decided, you know what? I really need to get back into reading. I had put this thing off for 2 years. I know I said 4, but the previous time I started reading had been about 2 years prior to actually finishing this thing. And when I did, I really enjoyed this. I really did. And there are so many things in this book that was left even as in depth as those movies were. There was still quite a bit from this book that had not been put into the movies. And those movies were damn near perfect. But unfortunately, not unabridged. So that's why I would highly recommend reading this book, especially if you are a fan of fantasy. Fantasy is something that's kind of difficult for me because I'm more into realism and horror and stuff like that, which is another reason I found this book to be a little intimidating. But by the end, I was so glad that I finished reading this because there is a whole chapter, well, more than that really, there towards the end that was not mentioned at all in the movies. And if I had not read this book, I never would have known about it. So, yeah, absolutely. J.R.R. Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings, definitely get this book.